welcome everybody to today's IPO watch party. Yesterday we celebrated the DoorDash IPO, and today we are focused on the Airbnb IPO. Obviously, yesterday was an incredible day for DoorDash. We saw that the valuation was tremendous. They ended up opening at and start trading at 182. So congratulations for them again. Today we're focused on Airbnb. And, for those who don't know me, I'm Laura Moreno Lucas. I'm the founder of PandoCap. And today I'm joined with my co-host, Marisela Garcia Marquez and Vero Gonzalez, who are both contributors to the PandoCap team. What we plan to do today is a little bit like what we did yesterday. For those who joined us yesterday, we plan to walk through what is actually happening on behind the scenes on the IPO side, give you a little bit of information about what it takes to get a company to this point, and then what is actually happening on today's day for the organization. It's a very educational exercise, so we thought we'd do this for our PandoCap family and for the broader community who is watching us today. So thank you for joining. And so that's what we'll cover for the next 30 minutes. We'll share a little bit again about Airbnb and what it takes to bring it to the public markets. And we've also have Vero joining us, and she's actually in Mexico City. She's one of our contributors from Latino America, and she'll be sharing some of the content with us in Espanol. So with that, all right, first I'll let Marisela take it away and introduce herself.
Well, good morning, everyone. Hola, hola, muy buenos días. I know we have a diverse audience present with us, given the community that we serve. Of course, our U.S. Hispanics based in the U.S. and entrepreneurs, founders in our community and our family across Latin America. So, muy bienvenidos a todos. Again, I am Marisela Garcia Marquez, and I am a contributor here at PandoCap. And I am very excited to be part of another historic moment for Airbnb and the U.S. market. And now I want to switch it over to our colleague in Mexico City, Vero Gonzalez. Hola, Vero.
Hola, ¿cómo están a todos? Hello, America. Good morning. I'm so pleased to be here with you guys. I am Veronica Gonzalez and also part of PandoCap team. And so happy to share with you all market info that's happening here in Mexico, to share with all Latino community in the United States, with PandoCap team, with all the people that is watching us. So very happy to be living this experience with Airbnb with you guys, and let's see what's going on.
Great. So why don't we talk a little bit about how Airbnb was founded. It was founded in 2008 after its co-founders actually rented out their room here in San Francisco. One of the things that happens quite frequently in San Francisco is we have big conferences, and because of the lack of hotels in San Francisco, they started renting out their couch, really, to allow other people to come in and use their couch. And so think about that right now, right? From that concept to where it is today, a company that has raised $6.5 billion from investors, including some of the biggest names out there: Sequoia Capital, Founders Fund, and DST. And today their IPO is being led by Morgan Stanley and also Goldman Sachs. So Marisela, do you want to share a little bit more background about Airbnb?
Yes, absolutely. So Airbnb pulled off one of the largest initial public offerings in 2020, despite a pandemic that laid waste to much of the travel industry, as we all know. The lodging booking platform priced its initial public offering at $68 a share on Wednesday, according to the Wall Street Journal. Well above its most recent target range of $56 to $60, which has already revised upward. And its IPO price, Airbnb, is expected to raise at least $3.5 billion, with initial market capitalization topping at $40 billion. So, again, there's a lot going on, and you just mentioned it right now, Lara, that the story behind how the founders of of Airbnb, which, we heard a very special, heartwarming story yesterday with the founder of DoorDash. So this is, the Silicon Valley trajectory started, very early days where the success, took a lot of time, right? So.
Yes, it does. It takes a lot of time. I think they've been a private company for over 13 years.
Right.
So now to hit this moment is huge.
Absolutely. So Laura, okay, so I'm super, super excited, and let's dive more into this. Let's talk about what happened this morning with the opening bell.
Well, I am so glad you asked, because this one is near and dear to my heart. So for those of you who don't know, prior to having PandoCap, I was head of NASDAQ for new listings and for the West. And so I actually got to work on this IPO. I remember going into their offices and talking to them about what they would want to do for this amazing day as they become a public company. And one of the things they shared with me was, we want it to be about our hosts. We want it to be about the fact that we have this massive community around the world and how we can showcase them. So they wanted to do a global opening bell where their host would actually ring the doorbell across the world. And so that is actually what happened this morning. And I'm going to share a little bit of what they shared this morning, that it's amazing to see this brought to life. So give me 1 second and I'll go ahead and share it with you. Let's see.
Well, I feel very proud of Laura and thank you for sharing that a little bit of the background, and to see you lead this, right? Lead it up to the IPO. So congratulations, felicidades.
Feliz, Laura, and I want to take advantage, and because all our people here in Mexico are going to be watching this, and I just want to let them know that who better than you, Laura, with all that expertise in the finance industry, in IPOs, and this is like a very friendly and very easygoing moment for new starters in business or in finances, that they can learn what's an IPO. And I love just the way you share this information, because you give a lot of details that you make everything so easy to be so understandable. And obviously, it's so important for them to know all this information, and the way you do it is just excellent. And thank you very much for sharing your background and all what you know about this, Laura.
Thank you. And so here, let's take a look here at how they did the bell today to open the markets for Airbnb. Mexico.
For hosts.
Bravo, bravo.
Fenomenal. Me encantó.
Yeah, so that was exciting to see when you actually put a concept together and bring it to life like that. So that's what happened this morning for their opening bell celebration. And, again, one of the things that people get confused about is that when you open here in the US, the opening bell, that doesn't mean that you automatically start trading. There's 2 ceremonies a day. There's an opening bell and a closing bell. And when people went in the public markets, the company actually starts trading on their first trade. And that's what everybody is awaiting right now, when the first trade is going to happen, so that Airbnb can be an official public company. And so right now, after the opening bell process, what's happening is that the banks and the head of NASDAQ is working together to help bring the best price to market and open that on the public market. So let me bring in CNBC while we're waiting here to see what the latest indication is. And then maybe, Vero, you can share a little bit about how this happens at Viva in Mexico.
Yeah, actually want to share this information. Can I do it now?
Yes, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, so let me tell you about what happens here in Mexico. Just like in the US, all the process prior to the IPOs is exactly the same. You know, the road shows and looking for investors, and later on, the ones interested starts to build up the IPO book and all these things. And then obviously, the one having the IPO, in this case, as an example, Airbnb, is the one that decides how many actions to give to the investors, right? But on the other hand, here in Mexico, once the IPO is launched, you can start trading right away. The trading starts right away, okay? But something that I like a lot about Viva, for those who still don't know, Viva is our newborn, is the second stock exchange here in Mexico, and it's actually part of Sencor Group, which is where I work, proudly where I work, and Viva has this like signature celebration that everyone loves. So once all the board members and family members and investors and everyone is ready for the IPO launch, what they do is do accounting. Instead of bells, is accounting from 10 all the way till 0, and they do the Viva scream. That means el grito Viva, which is Viva, and right next to Viva, it's the name of the one that's having the IPO, right? But they do like a big deal out of it, and because everyone screams that, then it's just something exciting, it's something beautiful. And well, Viva, by the way, stands for Bolsa Institucional de Valores. And like I said before, this is our newborn here in Mexico, second stock exchange.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Vero. That's very exciting. So, see, it even though it's a different celebration, it still is something that is so monumental to many companies. And I love the way that you guys are doing it in Mexico at Viva. And so, just like you described, this is a great segue, because just like you described in the U.S., again, during the opening bell, a lot of companies, this was prior to COVID, would come to the stock exchange with their family, with their friends, with their board members, and have a wonderful celebration. And so now, it's all done remotely because of COVID, and some even say that this process is going to continue to be remote because it's become so efficient. So we'll see where it goes after next year, after we have this new normal. But as of right now, that's how things are being done remotely. But there still is a grand celebration. So, as far as what is happening now, we talked a little bit earlier that they're working on getting the best price for Airbnb to hit the public markets. And the way that it is done at NASDAQ is there's a tool. We described this yesterday at the New York Stock Exchange, that there's a DMM. At NASDAQ, there's a tool called the Book Viewer. And Jay Heller, who oversees the head of capital markets at NASDAQ, actually uses the Book Viewer to see what the orders are that are coming in for the demand, and being able to strategically look at everything as that is building, and working with the bankers. In this case, we talked about it being Morgan Stanley, and also I believe Goldman Sachs is on this as well, but Morgan Stanley is lead left. And so at this time, they're again building that, doing this in the Book Viewer to be able to make sure that they're getting the right price and meeting all of the incoming orders, and matching that up with with the selling of the shares. So that is what's happening right now. And I think we checked in. Let's see if we have the price yet. Nope, looks like they're still not open to the market, but I think last I looked, it was at 153. So it's getting up there. You know, last night, again, the pricing was a lot lower. So now, as we saw yesterday with DoorDash, it's getting up into, you know, a very large opening price.
Right.
And for those, actually, I'm sorry the interruption, but for those that doesn't know what DoorDash is, because probably a lot are going to be wondering here in Mexico, especially.
Yeah, great question.
I bet many people here in Mexico are going to be like, DoorDash? Yeah, so I just found out, I have to accept that it's probably like the competition, or how it would be here, Uber Eats or Didi Eats. It's just this app for quick food or quick things to get home, right? So DoorDash is like the big thing, just like Uber Eats, but in United States, right?
That's right. That's right. DoorDash went public yesterday. It's exactly like Uber Eats, but it's only in the US right now.
Right. So I just want to add the piece of, you know, how vital this information is that Laura is sharing with all of us as we are awaiting, right, the process, or seeing the process of Airbnb's IPO. And here at PandoCap, all three of us are, you know, it's extremely important to us. We're very passionate women, Latina women, who are proud to be Latina women on top of it. But to make sure that we are creating this platform and a pipeline of education and awareness for our community who are not very much familiar with the process of an IPO and the process of stocks and shares, right? So I want to now take this opportunity to transition into, you know, how does Airbnb know when it will be a public company? And Laura, how can we buy stock?
Great question. So let me go ahead and stop the streaming real quick. You know, one of the things that is truly important is understanding when the company is going to be public, and that's happening as we speak right now. You know, we talked a little bit about it taking 1 to 3 hours. So if you can see, they started working on this process of getting the right price to go public at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, and it's now almost, you know, 9 o'clock here in San Francisco. So it takes a while, and they do this because they want to get it right. So the head of capital markets, Jay Heller, works really hard with the lead bankers, as I was saying earlier. And, you know, and once they complete this process and get that right price for Airbnb, then you'll see the ticker go public on really all of the public exchanges, and it'll start trading under ticker ABAB. And those platforms that you know, you see out there like E-Trade and others, you'll be able to go in there and purchase the stock under ABAB.
I think those platforms, the trading platforms, are very imperative as well in information for our community, right? Because I know that very early on, and this is something I actually learned through Laura, what those trading platforms are. And she actually was so amazing in guiding me through E-Trade. And I learned so much in a matter of 30 minutes. And so, you know, those are very important to be aware of, and, you know what those current platforms are. And, you know, basically, if you're very new at this, it is a hand-holding process to some extent. And I think that that's exactly how we want to serve our community, right, Laura?
Yes, exactly. We want, you know, one of the things that I think is truly important is not only to be able to share, you know, what happens during this IPO process, but now after they become a public company, how do we keep you informed of not only what's next, but, you know, how you can get involved in these IPOs. So I'm really excited to be able to share some of the background knowledge that I have on how companies enter the market, and then also continue to share with you, the ongoing developments and further education on what happens after they're on the public market. So right now, what you're seeing on CNBC, actually, that's the president of NASDAQ, Nelson Griggs, my former boss. He's probably talking a little bit about what is going on in them building the book. So why don't I bring in his sound, because I think this is something that I was just explaining.
Based sector-driven IPO market. So again, you saw success beget success, and you have the average IPO is up over 50% this year versus Nasdaq Composite at 40 and the S&P at 15. So you've seen again just a tremendous amount of investor enthusiasm for the IPO market. And I think that is, we do know, I've been doing this, been involved with NASDAQ for 20 years, and windows do open and close. Right now, there's clearly a window. And so I think if you are a private company and you also have this optionality of the SPAC market, the IPO market, potentially direct listing with a capital raise, you are looking at being public being very attractive because it does give you that access to currency. And, we're really enthusiastic. We talk to companies and they really are excited to be a public company these days.
Nelson, there's been this ongoing debate over the first day pop and whether that's, good PR or leaves a ton of money in this case on the table. Some say that it's an indication, like Bill Gurley, that the system is broken. DoorDash and Airbnb, they use technology that was supposed to minimize that first day pop. Yet here we are looking at more than doubling of that indicated price for Airbnb. And of course, we saw DoorDash yesterday.
Yeah, I think when you just have general enthusiasm for an IPO. So if you look at those deals, they did already, when they're on the road, raise their price range significantly. They both priced significantly above the range. So I think they were going off, what they already knew was enthusiastic investor appetite. But clearly, there's a limited amount of shares that are out there, and investors are anxious to participate in these stocks. I think you even look at other processes that I think that the marketplace is it's pretty exciting time because there's some unique ways that companies are looking at, how to do an auction before they go public. I think we will see more direct listings next year. But I think
that's a great segue. He's talking about direct listings, and that's one of the things that I wanted to share with everybody. Last year, when I was working on this Airbnb IPO, one of the ways that they wanted to go public was through a direct listing. And what that means that's different than an IPO is that in an IPO, you go out and you meet with investors and you have a pre-planned sort of baked of investors that are going to participate in the IPO to support this price that is being developed of 153. And so what's like what they're talking about, what's happened is a lot of people who are invested in Airbnb are saying, hey, why is it that we price it at one price? Like last night, they said this valuation was, 102, let's say, or 50 or 60. But now you're seeing it's 153. Who is getting that difference? Who is making that money? It's not the company, it's the investors that are getting that pop that not the public gets and not, the company gets. It's more of something that they don't like to see. And there's a lot of controversy around this pop that's happening. So that's one thing that drove a lot of the direct listings. The other thing that drove a lot of the direct listings is the fact that there is a lockup period frequently on employees that are locked up for 6 months. And as I mentioned, sometimes even executives for a year. And so this allows, a direct listing allows that to go away, and you're able to, directly put it on the market. So there are some interesting nuances to a direct listing and how it actually goes public. And finally, the people who support direct listings, you generally don't have that typical makeup of the lead left and all the bankers that are involved in supporting that. But as you can see, doing this process takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of time. And so I think there's still a lot of controversy over what works better, whether it's the IPO or the direct listing. And we saw Slack go public via direct listing. We saw Spotify go public via direct listing. And some say that their performance wasn't that great. So it's, people are trying to figure out what is the best way for them to access the public market. And quite frankly, the other thing is you don't raise capital. And so I think right. Airbnb really needed the capital right now, obviously, to survive during this pandemic. So
pretty tough.
Yeah, so that's I wanted to share Nelson Griggs, president of NASDAQ, and so he's talking about the IPO market right now.
Lau, one more question. When
yes.
I'm waiting for Airbnb's first trade,
yes.
Is that like something that we can just wait for a longer time, or are they really waiting right now for the first trade?
That's happening right now. Great question. That is exactly what's happening right now. So as I mentioned, Jay Heller, the head of capital markets, is working with Morgan Stanley and Goldman to help get all of the allocations and interest in and get everybody met on all of their allocations so that they can stabilize the price so that once this goes public, that is a smooth and it's not volatile. There's not a lot of swings. It's a good price. It hits the public market and then it's open for everybody else to come in to purchase the stock. So they want to make it a smooth ride. They don't want it to have a lot of swings. So they're trying to get all of that allocation done and make sure they have, and it takes time, like I mentioned, it's now going to be 9 o'clock and they've been working on it since this morning. But at the end of the day, it's making sure that everybody who wanted to be a part of this historic IPO gets their allocation.
So, Laura, let's take this minute really quickly before we wrap up. Just in the spirit of education, right? And what happens once a company goes public?
Yeah, so a great question. So now that they're getting ready to open the stock, what happens when they go public is, as I mentioned, you're now able to go ahead and purchase the stock on the public markets. We talked a little bit about some of the platforms that are available out there to purchase on, like Schwab Slices, or also Robinhood, has a big platform on where you can actually go in and purchase stock via, like, not on a full allocation, but more on, just a quarter, fractional shares, if you will, is what they call it. So you can use those platforms, but I would highly, if you're not somebody that understands the market on a day-to-day basis, I would highly recommend that you talk to a financial advisor so that they can help you and guide you through the process of where you should be investing, and if you wanted to potentially participate in an IPO like Airbnb. We have some great partners like Achilles, Lara from Lara Wealth, who has actually been on the Pando Cap as a contributor. So happy to share more resources. And I know there's a lot of people in the community who are trying to do more financial education for our community and make sure that they understand what it takes to really get their, as SoFi says, get their money right in these times, especially now in these times where everybody needs to make sure that they're allocating their financial long-term interest in a very strategic way. All right. Well, I know that brings us to the top of the hour. It looks like we're still awaiting the Airbnb pricing that last we checked. It's at 153. based on what we saw yesterday with DoorDash, it went out at 182. I think we'll be close here to it opening soon. I suspect it'll be like in the 150, 160 range, and but we'll see where it goes. All right, thank you, everybody. Vero, you want to sign off from?
Yeah, and just for all of those watching, don't forget to follow us on PandoCap social media, especially for all this friendly and easy and very clear information that we share week by week, because we also have news, fresh news, financial news all the way from the United States. Thank you, guys. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, pando_cap, or www.pandocap.co.
Definitely. Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much. De nuevo, para la comunidad en Latinoamérica, mil gracias por todos los que nos acompañaron. Y como lo acaba de decir Vero, pueden encontrar mucho más información acerca del contenido que proveemos en asesoría, mentores, guest speakers, a través de nuestra página web y también en nuestras plataformas de social media, PandoCap.
Bueno, chao, gracias a todos, bye, adiós.
Adiós.